Hi, my name is Rupal Jain, and over the next few minutes, I want to walk you through the story of how Penn State found itself at a major crossroads. A story about growth, access, and the difficult realities that comes when the goal run up against challenging demographics and finances. My focus today is on how we got here. So let's discuss the Penn State model. Penn State has always been more than one campus. There is the flagship at the University Park, the Online World campus, and 19 Commonwealth campuses spread across Pennsylvania. This network was built on the land grant mission, the promise to bring education and research to every corner of the state. For decades, that model worked beautifully. Local campuses kept students close to home and supported regional economies. But as population patterns shifted and cost rose, that same model became harder to sustain. By mid 2024, the university recognized the strain and introduced a regional leadership structure to coordinate those campuses, an early signal that the status quo was under review. So, how does the timeline look like for this change? If we zoom out just a bit, we can see the progression like this. In June 2024, Penn State formally adopted the Regional Leadership Shared Service Model, the first operational change. Through late 2024 and early 2025, university leaders gathered data, met with stakeholders, and assessed what was and wasn't working. And on May 2025, the Board of Trustees voted to optimize the Commonwealth campus ecosystem. That vote didn't end the story. It simply marked the moment when when discussions turned into decisions. So what? So the next we'll discuss about what were the external factors that impacted this decision. The first set of forces came from outside. Pennsylvania's college age population has been shrinking for years and is projected to decline even further through the 2040. Few high school graduate means fewer students to serve, specifically in rural counties. At the same time, competition has intensified. Community colleges, nearby state systems, and rapidly online programs have given students more choices and greater price sensitivity. So, the environment that once favored local physical campuses now reward flexibility and scale. That change alone started to bend the economies of the system. However, there were some internal forces also that lead to this. Inside the university, a different set of tension built up. Each campus historically operated with its own administration, HR, and finance systems, a structure that celebrated autonomy but created duplication and uneven efficiency. As enrollment softened, those fixed costs began to weigh heavily. In response, Penn State introduced system-wide dashboards to compare enrollment outcomes and facility use across campuses. For the first time, leadership had an apples to apples view of how each campus was performing. And the picture made one thing clear: the structure that once expanded opportunity was now limiting it actually. So here comes the turning point. By 2024, these three currents converged. First, data transparency improved, the problems were measurable. Second, administrative integration was already underway through the regional model. And third, the governing board and state stakeholders were paying close attention to financial sustainability. Together, those forces created a moment where maintaining the old system was no longer a neutral choice, it was itself a risk. So that's the real story behind May 2025 milestone. So, of course, none of this happens in vacuum. For students, the questions are about continuity. Will my program still exist? Can I finish my degree close to home? For staff and faculty, it was more about role clarity and morale. For communities, it's the fear of losing an anchor institution that drives local jobs and pride. And for trustees and leadership, it's balancing the land grant mission, access for all, with the fiscal responsibility to keep the university healthy for the next generations. Those competing priorities explain both the emotion and the urgency that surrounded this process. But when we connect the dots, like pulling it all together, the path became clearer. Long term demographic decline, changing students' behavior, and high structural cost placed enormous pressure on decentralized system. Penn State's 2024 integration and 2025 board action were not abrupt moves. They were the accumulation of years of trends converging. Understanding that context is essential before we can evaluate whether the forthcoming reorganization plans make sense or not. So this presentation closes the history chapter and sets the stage for the next one, design and implementation, that I think we will take in the next uh, presentations that we'll perform you. Hope you like it and enjoyed and understood the structure flow and how and why did this decision came up. Thank you.